Hello, I'm Erin Marcus, founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, and I want to welcome you to Ready Yet? If all you needed was a step-by-step plan of what to do, you could buy a book on how to succeed and you would be all set. But here's the rub. You'll never do what it takes until you become the person it takes to do it. The Ready Yet podcast is dedicated to those who are ready to become the person who succeeds, ready to become the person who steps into more, and ready to become the best version of themselves. In the I'm Ready interview series, join me for inspiring conversations with people who figured out who they needed to be in order to achieve their dreams and were brave enough to be that person. Hello, and I'm so excited to welcome everybody to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast, where I've been having amazing conversations with people who understand that you never do what it takes until you become the person it takes to do it. And they have been awesome enough to share their personal stories so that we can all learn from them. Today, I'm excited to welcome Piper Dominguez here. I met Piper at a mastermind that I'm involved in, and it was our opening retreat back in the days when we got to do these things in person. We're getting back there. We're going to get back there. But it was awesome because for those of you who don't know me and my background, I have a background in competitive powerlifting and boxing. And it was very clear by Piper's physique that she was way into exercise. And I learned very quickly into what I call fighting as exercise, which is kind of my favorite. So it's always fun to meet another woman that you can talk about those types of things with. And then as I've gotten to know her more and more over the last year, she's just an absolute amazing human being. So why don't you give people a little bit of a more official introduction to yourself, Piper?
Thanks, Erin, and thank you so much for inviting me on today. I'm thrilled to be here. And my name's Piper, and I'm a transformational life and mindset coach. But so I really help busy moms. I help women entrepreneurs to live more of a guilt-free life, and I help them to get out of the overwhelm and into action, so that they can really reclaim their confidence and move forward towards what they really desire. And but in doing that, like Erin said, I tend to live my life kind of on both. I don't want to say extremes, but on both edges, and which really I feel like help me to relate to my clients and also help them to see that they're capable of so much more than they think that they are. And that's where the fighting and the boxing comes in. And I do tend to, I have a background in personal training, and I've been in the fitness world for a very long time. And yet it wasn't the right fit for my life right now. And I wanted to be in service to women in a different way, in a more empowering way, and to really help them with more, because there's so much underneath all of the other stuff.
The other stuff you do. I think, one of the things you said that I think I found intriguing as I got to know you is the fact that you really have, much more than me, embraced the traditional masculine energy of the boxing and the MMA, that type of working out.
Yeah.
But you have much more embraced your feminine side, because you have a very soft demeanor and a very empathic, sensitive side to you that surely doesn't show up for me nearly as much. So, like, how did you figure that out? How did you figure out you can be both of those things at the same time?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's taken a lot of trial and error in a way. And it's taken a lot of being willing to be open to both. And looking at the patterns in my life and really looking at what has worked and what hasn't. It's, the my athleticism, being an athlete. I've been an athlete all my life, and so that's always been a part of who I am and what I do, and it's always been in sports that are rather um,
Aggressive.
aggressive, masculine. You know,
It's aggressive.
I raced in winter biathlon, which is cross country skiing and rifle marksmanship. You know, I very much am very passionate about boxing and fighting and that whole world. And that's been more of a recent thing, but it's something that really feeds me. And yet, you know, it's one of those things, like, I'm not a girly girl. You know, I've never been, you know, somebody who was a really girly girl, you know, however that, you know, I
Right.
have my own definition of that. And so however you define that, but, you know, I was very much a tomboy growing up. And yet there were also little hints of, you know, kind of a part of my essence that were very feminine, you know, in the way I carry myself. I danced for a very long time, which is
Oh wow.
very, you know, I did ballet for 20 plus years. So it's like,
Oh wow.
yeah, so it was always kind of this yin and yang in my life, this balance between the masculine and the feminine. And as I have gotten older and more wise, hopefully, you
Right.
know,
We can all hope.
I've learned to really balance those two things and really use the best qualities of both in order to better express myself and also to kind of feed my soul and what I am needing as an outlet. That's where a lot of the um, you know, a lot of the physical fitness comes in. Um,
You
so
know, and I just keep thinking about myself as I'm listening to you
mhm,
because I don't, it took me a long time to
mhm,
embrace any feminine side of myself. Because, like you, I was very much a tomboy. My athlete didn't start till college.
mhm,
Chicago public schools wasn't exactly the place where I chose to get involved in athletics.
right.
But once I got in college, but I went into powerlifting, you know, followed my dad. Um, and I do laugh because it shows up for me, and I love this thing popped into my head because things always pop into my head when I'm talking to you, that I have my artwork that I fill my house with is very colorful. It's not necessarily whimsical, but it's very uplifting and it's very colorful. And yet here I am at my desk with my Punisher water bottle. So maybe I am embracing it a little bit more than I thought I was.
Oh.
But did you get pushback from anybody? I mean,
Mm,
as that came out, because I think as we change our definitions of ourselves, people who are used to us being a certain way. I mean,
mhm.
I got a pink t-shirt when I was at the gym for that said shut up and bench because the guys thought it was cute that I was a girl and small and could lift anything at all. You know, but did you get pushback about your development?
Yeah, you know, I probably didn't get it so much on the outside as I did within myself. You know, it
Sure.
was my own pushback, and it seemed probably like it was coming from the outside, but it was really just a reflection of what was happening on the inside for me. You know, I feel like um, I've always brought an element of grace to kind of everything that I have done, no matter how like masculine the thing might be. You know, like fighting is a pretty masculine, aggressive sport, and yet I feel like I bring an element of femininity to it. Um, and and so the pushback I think came when I had to be very clear on what that looked like. You know,
Mm.
and that's where I feel like there was a bit of a gray area for a long time where I really struggled because I wasn't sure what I wanted that to look like, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted that to feel like, you know, what the where the balance was. And so um and I don't think I was ready to really embrace more of my feminine. Like it was much, and it still sometimes is much more comfortable to be in my masculine,
Me
uh,
too. Right. Yeah.
because that's how so many people move in the world. And so, you know, I never really got pushback, um, you know, because that's kind of the way people knew me. And yet those who really really know me, um, you know, they know that there is a very strong feminine side to my work and to what I do and how I relate to people. And so there's a real softness there. And, I think that it's been recently that I have had to kind of make a very clear boundary, um, going from what I used to do, in the fitness world, and separate myself a little bit from that, in order to create what I really am here to do and really to create, um, so that I don't get the pushback.
Sure.
It's hard to, I think sometimes, um, mm, reteach who you are to people who have a very fixed idea of who they think you are.
Absolutely.
And so that's where I feel like sometimes the pushback happened in my own, like I said, it was in my own um, relation with those people, because it was hard for me to show up more authentically because that's how they saw me, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
absolutely, absolutely. And you just said like what has become my magic word. I knew when I started this series
Hmm.
that I was going to be talking to these amazing people. And I absolutely believe in the concept I started with, where you will never do what it takes until you become the person it takes to do it.
Hmm.
However, what came out of everyone's story, and what I was going to ask you next, and you just kind of set it up, is the reality is that you become the person it takes to do it is your authentic self.
Yes.
And time after time, I've had these conversations with these amazing people who are telling me their world changed when they became their authentic self.
Hmm.
So what is opened up for you? I mean, with my background in personal training also, I know what I always talk to my coaches about. I know what my clients talk to me about. And the fact that you have moved into helping people in a bigger way makes total sense to me, because those, when you're a sweaty mess and you have no oxygen left, you start to open up, right? Because
Absolutely.
your walls come down because you're just too exhausted. So it makes complete sense for to me. But what is opened up for you and what has changed for you, whether it's your business, your personal relationships, just in general, um since being so much more embracing of your authentic self?
I would say there's a lot that has opened up. I going back just for a second, it's like, there was, even when I was personal training, I look back and I kind of laugh because, it was obvious then, kind of the direction I needed to go, and what I needed to claim more of in my life. And yet I didn't have the knowing, or the consciousness to really, or the tools to move in that direction. And, because I remember working with people, and you're right, like, people are sweaty messes, and then it's just like,
It all comes pouring
it
out.
all comes out. And yet for me, am fairly empathic, and I work intuitively in my coaching. And and so I found that people were always very willing to open up. They felt safe with me, and I'm pretty grounded. And so people, when you are with somebody who is, they tend to want to unload, right? And so I just always like look back at that and think like, oh, I had so many clues.
The universe was telling me so long.
So it was so much, I was doing so much more coaching then, than really exercise, related stuff, because people just they needed an outlet. So, but so I feel like, I really had to give myself permission to step into my authenticity, and let that be okay, because for so long, it's not that it wasn't okay, but I didn't make it okay, because
Right, we hold it in the background.
exactly, hold it in the
Hold it
background.
in the background.
And I was trying to please other people. I was trying to do what I thought others wanted me to do, people who were important in my life, and thinking that, my kids, for example, were, it's, they are my world, and yet, they're a part of my world. And it took me a long time to realize that I could be a really great mom and a really great coach at the same time. Like, so that's part of allowing myself, giving myself permission to really be authentic. So instead of having this idea that I have to do one or the other, I can have both. And, that I can be a boxer, a fighter, and I can also be this very grounded, very like I'm pretty spiritual in my life. I can be this very feminine person at the same time. And so I think that that was really a big key for me, was in order to allow myself to be the most authentic version of myself, I had to allow kind of the both and of life, those opposing qualities to let that be okay to be both.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I know I really enjoy having conversations about who you need to be in order to reach new heights. As founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, I work with my clients at the intersection where what they need to do to succeed meets who they need to be to do it. If you would like to have a conversation about your business, please reach out to me at erin@conqueryourbusiness.com. So, was this a slow churn evolution, or was there a catalyst that suddenly a light goes on?
Mhm. I would say I would say it's always been there. And yet, I in the work that excuse me, we've done this
Oh,
past
sure.
year, I have we've been working with the same coach, and I've been surrounded by these amazing women like yourself that have shown me that it's okay. And so I would say it's kind of a both and, that it's something again that has always been there, and so it's kind of been churning, but it was really a decision that I had to make, that where I told myself, I'm no longer willing to tolerate this over here. I'm no longer willing to tolerate the um, inauthenticity, and that it's okay to claim this. It's okay to
Well,
be this.
and one of the things you said that I think is so important, and I have learned over the years, I don't know if I did it by accident before and finally somebody said it, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. When going back, and I use either dog training, wildlife rescue, or the gym as like all my examples, right? Because it makes things so obvious. So when you're going to be a boxer, when I was doing the powerlifting, I surrounded myself
Mhm.
with people who were doing that, people who were eating the foods you needed to eat to stay healthy, people who were going to the gym and weren't getting mad that I wasn't, going out after work, that I was going to the gym. And yet, wasn't obvious to me that
Mhm.
as I became an entrepreneur, I needed to surround myself with people who were doing the same thing. And I just did a Monday morning live about, okay, it's the holidays, but you can hold your entrepreneur baby close to your heart and not share it
Mhm.
with your family if they don't understand. And that's something we've experienced this year when we think about who's been in that mastermind, that when you surround yourself with people who are willing to let you be whoever it is that you need to be and then support you on that journey.
Mhm.
And most of our life is not that.
Absolutely. No, and you really hit a nail on the head there. And for me in particular, being a part of a group of women only.
Yeah, right, because I'm never with only one, right.
Exactly. So much of my life is I have a lot of male friends. I am, in my in my personal life with sports, they have been very male kind of dominated. My training partners have mostly been male. So, to be surrounded by women who are doing amazing things,
Yeah.
but a there isn't a cattiness or a competition or a judgment, and I could walk into this group and be completely vulnerable, and that was a completely like new thing for me, and I would say it was a real key in in being able to do what I do now,
I
to
think we're
be
taught
inspired.
that women, I think we are taught from television
Yes.
that women are catty.
Yeah.
But I don't think
Right.
in reality that that's not
Mhm.
that it never happens,
Mhm.
but what you put out there, you get back. And if you don't behave that way, I've just never had that problem in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where I have. And so that's where, it was a huge stretch for me to step into an all women group. In it, and to be quite honest, like I was really nervous before really working with this mastermind last year
Well,
because
and now that I've gotten to know you more and you're more used to me, um, I can tell now that that first dinner, you were almost scared. Like you were way out of your element.
yeah, out of my element, had my guard up, it was it was very uncomfortable. And that's where I have to watch where the masculine comes in, because it's I tend to, push away, be guarded, like there's a
You've got to say to yourself the same thing I do when I get nervous.
okay,
Bottom line, if it comes to it, I can take anyone in this room.
right. Exactly. Right, that's why I do what I do over here.
I'm doing it too, because bottom line, I can take you.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's just been a really it's been very eye-opening for me, and it's been such an amazing experience to have support from a group of women, and to have the like I said, just to be able to really come together and be really vulnerable, and to share um, my vulnerabilities has been um, a change, and it's been a huge kind of probably a catalyst for my growth. So
Mhm. Well, and what you're doing now is you're taking, what I love is that you're taking what you already knew
mhm,
from all the conversations you had, from all of your experience, and then this new experience, and considering your journey, the fact that you are dedicating your work to working with women
mhm.
is very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I have I do work with women now. Like I've allowed men to work with me in the past, and I love working with men.
Yeah.
And yet I feel like um my place right now is to be in service to women, to really show them, and partly because of my own story, my own experience, where I have been, and the things that I've really struggled with. And I feel like there's a lot of busy moms, especially, and women who struggle with the same things, where there's a bit of a when you have kids, I feel like it's not everybody, of course, but a lot of women I feel like lose themselves. They lose a sense
Absolutely.
of themselves, and they lose their compass. And I would so much rather see somebody spend a short time in that space and to really claim what they want, than to spend 20 years
Right.
and then really have no idea what they want at that point, and completely lose themselves in their children, or their husbands, or their or other people's lives, and then feel resentment and regret,
Right.
and guilt, and then feel like they have no time. um, and so I feel like that's really where my work is. I think men struggle with something similar, but it's different, and it looks different, and I don't think that they struggle with it the same way that women do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's absolutely, so if any of that has resonated, and I can't imagine it wouldn't, with a lot of our audience, what is the best way for them to reach out and get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the best way is either through my website. You can always schedule a consult. They're completely free, and you can go onto my website, and there's a little schedule consult button, and it'll direct you to my calendar. You can always get in touch with me directly through email, or also on Facebook.
Great,
Um,
you're not hiding. So is your website your name? I can't remember.
yes, it's piperdominguez.com. And and
Hyperdominguez.com. That's easy enough.
Yep, and same thing on Facebook. It's the same, and you can always find me, friend me. I'd be more than happy to talk to you. I have an Instagram handle, so yeah, I'm not hidden. I'm there.
there. Awesome. Well, thank you so, so much for joining me today. I've learned even more things about you, which is amazing. So thank you again so much.
Thank you, Erin. I so appreciate the conversation.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Ready Yet podcast. I get so motivated by the amazing accomplishments of the remarkable people I meet, and I'm excited to be able to share some of their stories with you. You can find more episodes of Ready Yet at your favorite source for podcasts or at conqueryourbusiness.com. And if you've already decided that you are ready to become the person you need to be to achieve your big goals, feel free to reach out to find out how I can support you in your efforts. Or check out the Work with Erin page on the Conquer Your Business website. I also invite you to share this podcast with anyone you know who loves to learn and be inspired. And if you're so inclined, I'd be absolutely grateful for any reviews you'd like to share as well. Thanks again for joining me. This has been Erin Marcus, hopefully inspiring and helping you to go conquer your big dreams.